It is the Bart Winkler Show. I am Bart Winkler, Carlos Ortiz, alongside as we continue to talk about the AFC and NFC championship games. And I think, again, with the NFC championship game, there's going to be better Commanders teams. There will be better Commanders teams, and they'll have their fun. They'll get better. So, you feel bad the next day, but there's optimism. Maggie Gray is joining us of Maggie and Perloff mornings on the Infinity Sports Network. Many of these same great affiliates. Maggie, on the other hand.
And then there's the Bills.
So just like the pain in the early 90s, where it was 4 Super Bowl losses, it's now 4 playoff losses to the Kansas City Chiefs. We're 24 hours out. How are you?
Well, great to be on the show. Thank you for having me. Thanks for thinking of me in my time of need here. I was assuming you invited me on to try to perk me up or cheer me up, but the symmetry, no. I'm quickly realizing that part. No, the symmetry of the losing the 4 Super Bowls and then going 0-4 to Mahomes and the Chiefs is something I had not thought of. So thank you for that. New nightmare fuel. And the problem with this is that there's no end in sight. You knew in the 90s at some point you were going to stop going to the Super Bowl. And, those 2 last losses to the Cowboys really drove the point home that you were probably not going to be winning soon. The thing about Mahomes that is so tough is he's not going where. He and Allen are basically the same age, Josh Allen. Andy Reid is in his 60s. We just saw Pete Carroll get hired at, 73? You can coach forever. Yeah. Sure, Kelsey will go, and at some point, other guys will get cycled in and out. But as long as you have Mahomes and Reid and you have a competent front office, why wouldn't this just continue on, just like we saw with Belichick and Brady, until I guess someone decides to start a nutrition line and has some weird trainer, and then they have to break up over egos? That's all I can hope for. But Bart, that might not happen for another 15 years.
Well, and, I want to talk to you about the Bills aspect of it, which I'll get back to. But the Patriots and Chiefs thing, the difference so far is that the Patriots had a dynasty, and then the Chiefs started their dynasty, and they had a nice passing of the torch, playing each other in the last, AFC championship game that New England had first to Kansas City. But in the Patriots dynasty, there were 10 years where they did not win. So all the contemporaries of that era, Manning and Rodgers and Breeze and Russ and Big Ben, they all got their Super Bowl. But it seems like if this isn't going to pause or take a break, then you could have a whole era of quarterbacks and Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, before we even get back over to the NFC, that we're gonna judge these guys unfairly. I was going to say almost unfairly, but certainly unfairly. If nobody else, because that whole batch of quarterbacks, I said, there's a good chance that none of them end up with a Super Bowl victory, which is insane, but also that's what's kind of happening right now.
Yeah, or you're Phillip Rivers. And I think that's kind of, where, at least for now, 7 years into his career, that's kind of where Josh sort of is. It's not. Is it as painful as the stuff the Chargers went through? Probably kind of similar. I think that right now he's kind of in that Phillip Rivers zone. And, you're making a great point here. Those guys did break through. I think that's what it's going to take. First, I know last year that they lost, the Bills lost to Mahomes in Buffalo. But this is the key. You got to get the game back on your home turf if they're going to have a shot. And let's do case in point the game yesterday, the 4th and 1. Which is one of the most controversial calls. And I'm not blaming the refs for why the Buffalo Bills lost yesterday, but let's just call that what it was. That was a 4th and 1 play. I hated the 3rd down play. Let's be fair. The 4th down play, none of their short yardage stuff was working yesterday, but let's call it what it is. If that's in Buffalo, I bet they give them the 1st down. This is the type of home cooking. I can't even be mad at it. But if that game's in Orchard Park, I think the drive continues for Buffalo, not a turnover on downs that leads to a touchdown for the Chiefs, and then totally swung the momentum of that 4th quarter. Now, the Bills had another chance, so I'm not going to say that was the end-all, be-all. But those types of moments, I think, change when you have a home game. And look what happened with Peyton Manning. It took him getting a home game in the playoffs when he finally did vanquish Brady. So I just think that's step one. Got to get the home game, and then you've got to not squander that opportunity. But I'm sad today, Bart, and everyone can drink my tears, and that's fine.
Nobody wants to drink your tears.
Well, I'm
Nobody
giving it to
wants.
them anyway.
Everyone's crying with you.
But here's the thing: 7 years in, I have to believe that there's still time, and that's hard to say today. And I think the silver lining is this was kind of a rebuild year for the Bills, which is a weird thing to say when you have a good quarterback like that. But it kind of was a bit of a rebuild, and they're out from the Stephon Diggs contract, and maybe they try to make a play for someone in free agency or reload this thing and get back there again. That's all you can do.
We're talking with Maggie Gray, Maggie and Perloff, Infinity Sports Network, which you're listening to right now. One of the things that I would always say watching the Packers lose year in and year out after they got their Super Bowl, so I can't be, but then they lost a lot in the playoffs, and it got to the point where, and I would always compare it to playing a video game pre save, and I'm thinking Mario when I'm 7 years old, because you play Mario, and if you get to the 8th world and you die, you have to start all the way over. So then you have to play every level over and over, and you're like, I've already done this, and you're going through the motions. And that's what I felt like as a Packer fan, where the preseason's not exciting either, the regular season's not exciting. The season doesn't really start until the AFC divisional round, I guess, if you're Buffalo. As a fan, you find different reasons to have fun and think maybe this is different. I wonder how the teams do that, because no matter what joy they're experiencing, they still know that thing is to come. I don't know how. It felt like this was going to be the time for Buffalo. So I don't even know how you've gotten to that point and then think, okay, well, we'll just reset and do it again. At some point, that weight seems to, I would think, crush a soul.
Yeah. And I didn't think today could get any darker. No, you're right. And honestly,
Very
the Mario, I was thinking like Mike Tyson's Punch Out was kind of my jam back in the day. And like Mahomes is the Mike Tyson at the end of the game. And now you got to pick yourself up and do Glass Joe and Piston Honda and all the characters you had to get through to try to beat Mike. What's funny about athletes though? I found this, I don't know if you found the same. They have this unwavering sort of belief in themselves. And I think pro athletes have defied so many odds to get to where they are. It's the 0.0001% of our population that gets to do this kind of thing. And I think when you see it close up, they just have this sort of belief. And I think that they handle moving on from losses, quite frankly, easier than the fans do. And maybe that's because they have this belief in themselves that you need to succeed at this high level. I argue about this with my co-host all the time, Andrew Perloff. He's like, oh, this guy's a nice guy and that guy's a nice guy. I'm like, yeah. They might be like nice, but like they're killers underneath, like you have to have this other place you can go to be a professional athlete, or else you would have been weeded out long ago. So I think it's an internal drive. I think it's a crazy belief in themselves that maybe borderlines on the delusional, but yet they're out there doing it. And I think they always think they have a shot. And, I think it's part of the mental toughness. And the biggest conversation that I'm having now with my Bills Mafia brethren is about Sean McDermott. And, I got a lot of opinions about Sean McDermott, and not all of them are great. But one thing that I will give Sean McDermott, amongst all the criticism I could give him, getting tight, I hated the game plan. So many things. Can't beat Andy Reid in the playoffs. They play hard for him. Yeah. And he does more with less at times with the defense. And they don't seem like they've abandoned their coach. So it seems like the message is still getting through. So if you have this belief in yourself and the coach hasn't lost the locker room, then we just have no control over what happens. They actually do. So we have to sit there and just sort of take it. And I think you have a different perspective when you're actually influencing the outcome.
Now, with McDermott, and you mentioned like one thing that would maybe be better is have this game at home. And, I'd agree with you on that. I think when I was watching that game, maybe they got tense. Maybe they were calling different things that they shouldn't have been. I know that the broadcast did a really nice job of saying, Josh Allen's going to go to his left on these sneaks. The Chiefs are ready. And so all of America now like knows this one thing that maybe the Bills didn't seem to at that point. But my prevailing thought out of it was, because I'm trying to think, who should be who you should be the most mad at, who can you blame? And yeah, there was the 4th and 1. I think he got it. I don't know why there's not some sort of technology in those footballs. Sean McDermott did get a little tight, maybe Joe Brady. But my overall thought was, and this is more grim, is that it's not going to happen. You've gotten it at home. You've played close. You've been to overtime. Like, no matter how hard you try and how hard you prepare, it's not going to happen. You can't think that way in sports, because then what's the reason for going back? But if I was a fan, as you are,
yeah,
I would feel like there's probably other losses that were more shell-shocking, but I would feel more defeated at this point.
Yeah. Just hold on
If
one
I
second.
was
I'm going to
you.
go walk into oncoming traffic, and then I'm going to come back and sit down.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That is what it feels like. It feels like despair. And you're right. They've kind of lost every which way you can lose to the Chiefs, except blowout. Always close games. Always close games. And I know that's like loser's lament. And I probably, a lot of this sounds like loser's lament. But, I like to think that it will feel even more gratifying when they do finally break through. But to the Sean McDermott piece of it all, it's really a tough spot that the Bills are in, because McDermott is responsible, along with Josh Allen, of course, and a new front office, for getting the Bills out of 17 years of not making the playoffs and being a doormat to Tom Brady and the Pats and just being irrelevant. And then he's had all this success. They're winning the division year after year. They're getting to these final moments with the Chiefs. It's not even like just getting to play the Chiefs. You're getting to 2 or 3 plays one way or another changes the outcome of the entire franchise. So how could he be like on the hot seat? It doesn't compute in your mind unless you're living this every year. And unfortunately for Sean, what has happened is, Andy Reid is his mentor, right? Coached under Reid in Philadelphia. And I think there's this part where when it gets to the playoffs, they can beat him in the regular season, because I think the Chiefs hold back. And then when they get to the playoffs, the Bills tend to lose at times, like who they are when they play the Chiefs. Like, they go away from their identity at times, at the biggest moments, quite frankly. And they get a little tighter in the biggest moments. And that's when the Chiefs get stronger. This is where they save that exotic blitz, or they save that 4th down play that no one's seen all year, or the one that no one can stop. And they get better in the biggest moments. And so far against the Chiefs, the Bills have not played their best in the biggest moments. But I'm not putting on Josh Allen. I really don't. I mean, you can nitpick here or there. He didn't turn the ball over. He cleaned that up as part of what was part of his MO. And yeah, I mean, does he have to get them in field goal range at the end? Like, yeah, he does. But also, guys have to catch the ball too. They have to call better plays. So I tend to look at the coaching staff before the quarterback on this one.
Is this more of an offseason where it's just changed that kind of mentality, or are there pieces that they can add to be like a better team? Because, you look at last year, and then the Bills had Keon Coleman after they traded back so that the Chiefs could have Xavier Worthy. So, like, you have to make your team better, but don't help the other team that you're trying to beat in the process.
Oh, Bart, I called it on draft night. You can ask my co-host and my producer.
I believe you.
The pick came in, and I was like, Xavier Worthy will score a touchdown against the Bills in the playoffs. I wish I could have bet it at the time. I would be a zillionaire. The only thing I got wrong is I thought it'd be the go-ahead, and I thought he would throw up the Tyreek Hill peace sign behind him just for maximum devastation. He didn't do that. So cool. But I knew that he was going to score a touchdown against the Bills. That's death and taxes. And yeah, I wish they would stop trading with the Chiefs on draft night. Just don't do it. Don't outthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't outthink yourselves. Just don't do it.
Are there is there part of you need another receiver? Is it another edge person? I mean, what's the main priority in the offseason?
To me, I think secondary. I'm thinking corner. You had Christian Benford got knocked out of the game and out of the solar system with the concussion that he had. They need another piece in the secondary. That would be the first place I would look. I think they do need another receiver. And, I was a little disappointed in the pass rush. They didn't really get home. This is a place where the Bills have really invested quite a lot of draft capital, paid some of these guys as well, may have more to pay. And so I was a little bummed that they didn't have a bigger game. I thought they really flummoxed Lamar Jackson quite a bit a week before. I felt like Lamar really felt the pressure, especially in the first half of the game where he turned the ball over twice. But I was a little surprised the pass rush didn't get home, but I think they were trying to compensate, quite frankly, because the secondary was so banged up, and you could tell Mahomes was picking on guys. I think secondary would be my number one place.
All right, so Super Bowl 59. We look forward to your coverage, of course.
We will be on location. We just booked our spot at the alligator farm on Monday.
Oh, yeah. I'll be back watching it all happen. That's great.
Can we bring you something? Want a baby alligator?
Sure. Why not? Right now, 2 weeks out. I shouldn't. I mean, I don't. I think I'm going to pick the Eagles, is what I'm saying.
Whoa.
But why? Why would anyone in their right mind ever pick against the Chiefs? I think I remember from the movie The Big Short, people bet on what they want to happen.
Yeah.
So I keep saying, oh, the Chiefs will finally lose this time. Do you have a 2 weeks out thought on the game?
Bart, did Margot Robbie tell you to pick the Eagles? Is that what this is about?
She did, and I listen to anything she says.
I figured you had her direct number.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that. Look at you, Bart. Always have to be outside the box, thinking differently than everyone else. Going to pick the Eagles. Now I'm going to pick the Chiefs, but that's mostly to annoy my co-host, who's diehard Philadelphia. Actually, it would probably annoy him more if I picked the Eagles. As some kind of like,
that is so lame. You guys had the perfect recipe, and for the show, and the Chiefs. That sucks. I'd be not more mad, but I'd be very mad about that.
We were so close, and we actually had already picked out like the punishment for whoever's team had lost. Not that we were looking ahead, but just like, workshopping ideas. Sometimes these things, you got to get approval, like HR gets involved and a lot of suits and emails, and you want to do anything, like it takes 100 emails. But Zach Gelb, who's also on the Infinity Sports Network, had given us this good idea of whoever's team loses gets a baptism by either Cheese Whiz or Blue Cheese. And I'm just really, really bummed that I'm not going to see Andrew Perloff have to dump Cheese Whiz all over his head.
Well, I'd say maybe next year, but with the Chiefs in the way, probably not.
Thanks,
Sorry
Bart.
about that. Yeah. Maggie, thank you so much. Sorry that it took the Bills losing again for you to come on the show, but we appreciate your time.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask about how the Packer faithful are feeling right now? I'm obsessed with the Packers. I think they're the most interesting team, one of the most interesting teams in the NFL, like top to bottom. Everything about them is interesting to me, from quarterback to coach to defense. Everything is interesting.
All right, so after I thought you could play that game against the Eagles 100 times, they would have never won. I didn't feel good about the Packers.
What happened to the mojo? What happened?
I think LaFleur. I don't think he thinks Jordan Love is as good as some of the fans think he might be. I think LaFleur's playing it a little safe. I also don't trust. It's not that I don't think LaFleur's a good coach, and I think he's better than, sometimes we say, just a coordinator, not a coach. He's better than that, but I don't think that he is great. And this guy for 7 years, every press conference, he comes out and tells you all the reasons why he sucked in that game. Well, you deflect a little bit, but after 7 years, you've been telling people, I'm no good. We're going to start to believe you. So I still think Jordan Love, the extension, I think that's the right move. But this year, if they're not any further than if they're not back in a championship game, then I think you got to start to look at pivoting one way or the other.
Wow. So it's LaFleur who's going to wear this. Of course he is.
My issues on LaFleur. LaFleur had 2 years of Love, 4 years of Rodgers. What do we got? A couple NFC championship games the first 2 years. Not going back since. I mean, let's go here. You know how to do it. Go. You don't have Mahomes in your face. Go. Get there. Can't do it.
NFC much, air quotes, easier path. Yeah, I mean, you had the NFC Championship game at home, right? The COVID year, no fans. Tom Brady throws 3 picks in the second half, and you lose. How does that happen?
And then he can't beat his buddy Kyle Shanahan. It's a disaster.
See, this is like what the Bills are working with McDermott and Andy Reid.
Yeah. Sorry, only I have Super Bowls that I mean, I can't like be 2, but I can, but not as much as.
Not as much. Yeah.
Maggie, thank you. Have fun at the Super Bowl.
Thanks, Bart. It's going to be a blast.
Have fun seeing the same Rob Riggle and Pete Rudd and Eric Stonestreet and Heidi Gardner interviews all over the place. Same celebrities, same alumni. It's a rerun all over again. Enjoy that. Thank you, Maggie. This is the Bart Winkler Show. We'll be back with more of the breakdown of the same weekend we've seen for years.